Okay, very small and a simple concept that we are going to discuss now for this particular class.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So sorry to interrupt. I have a question regarding bare metal architecture.
Yeah. Please, Vyapak.
Can we implement bare metal on a regular laptop? Like, what are the minimum hardware requirements?
See, bare metal depends on the hypervisor that you are going to choose. Mostly, it is not preferable to uh, install it on your laptop. Although, by some exploring on the uh, virtualization tools, you can do that. But if you do that, what will happen? There might be difficult because it will definitely change everything. Your hard disk partition format, everything will be changed. But if you want to install it, you can install it with a 8 GB RAM machine. If you have a 8 GB RAM, then it is suggested you can do it easily.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
But make sure, Vyapak, if you are doing such experiment, do it by proper study, because I don't want you to make your laptop hardware fail.
Okay, sir.
So that is a little risky before going further. Okay. So it is always suggested to go with a hosted architecture, because in that case your host operating system won't be get disturbed. You just need to install Oracle VirtualBox, as I have shared the link with you. You can download it and you can run it very smoothly. It works very fine if you have a 8 GB machine.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
So now we are, yeah, good. So now we are going to discuss a very small little point, hardware as a service. Now, what is hardware as a service? It is related to infrastructure as a service or what? So hardware as a service refers to managing services or grid computing, where computing power is leased from a central provider. So it's a very old concept which was thought as a part of providing services when there were various types of services which were there made for cloud. Hardware as a service was one of them, in which in each case the hardware as a service model is similar to other service based model, where user rent rather than purchase a particular asset, tech asset, rather than buying it, a renting model. Now, hardware as a service serves the following purpose in managing the services: involve a contract for the maintenance and administration of the system hardware. This type of service may be remote or on-site depending on the hardware setup requirement. It helps user manage a hardware licensing requirement. In collective computing environment, hardware as a service participates often use internet protocol connection to utilize the computation power of a remote hardware. So if somebody is having a remote hardware and you want that particular hardware to be completely utilized by a third party person, then you can give that particular hardware as a service to that particular user. A user sends data to a provider and the provider hardware performs necessary action to the data and then send back the result. These type of agreement help individual business lease computing power rather than invest in additional on-site hardware. Some of the most popular type of hardware as a service model are classified as cloud computing service, in which data storage, medias, and even active computing hardware are components of a remote provisional services of for users. You can see this particular framework that we already had a discussion, and you can see this infrastructure is there, and below that infrastructure we have a hardware. So this hardware can be provided through as a part of the service. That is what actually the basic term hardware as a service is about. We have also seen in our previous discussion with respect to this deployment model, where we have infrastructure, platform, and software as a service and cloud application that get deployed. So here again, hardware as a service can be there for getting direct access to the hardware component, rather going with platform or software. So this is in general a short discussion on the hardware as a service part. But if we go with the current services that is being offered, rather giving hardware, we can say infrastructure, where everything can be considered: storage, network, then computation power, everything can be treated as a part of the service. Now, moving ahead to the discussion, what is Google platform and what are the various components that are there as a part of Google platform? Now, in the case studies, we have already seen the three architecture, that is Microsoft, Azure, Amazon, and Google. But still, there are few more things that are there as a part of Google Cloud Computing Platform that we are going to discuss in this particular session. Now, why generally cloud computing is taken as an application and running them on an infrastructure rather than owning it? As a developer, think of a cloud computing as a service that provides a resource that your application needs to work. This resource may be a platform, an infrastructure, server, or framework. So when we got from the industry point of view, cloud industry service layers include infrastructure, platform, and software. Whereas Google App Engine can be there in software as a service and platform, whereas the other service can be considered as a part of infrastructure. Now, Google Cloud Platform is a set of services that enable developers to build, test, and deploy applications on Google's reliable infrastructure. So we know that Google is a big company and provides a vast variety of infrastructure for the user. Now, build, store, and analyze. This is something what actually Google's infrastructure is all about. So why Google platform can be considered? Because run on Google's infrastructure, you can build on the same infrastructure that allows Google to return billions of search results in millions of milliseconds, serves 6 billion hours of YouTube video per month, and provide storage for 425 million Gmail users. So it's a global network, redundancy is there, innovative infrastructure is there. So you can use Google infrastructure for hosting your application. Second, you can focus on your product, and there are different services also for managing variety of services. There are developer tools and software development kit. There are console and administration, which is there. Mix and match services. So virtual machine, managed platforms, blob storage is there. We already had a discussion on blob storage. Block storage, NoSQL data storage there. MySQL database is there. You can definitely have big data analytics.
So what is this called? Block storage?
Yeah, block storage is there. So block storage is a storage where you can store the data in the form of block. These blocks are in terabytes and they are non-executable blocks, and mega MBs, GBs, and TBs blob storage is there. So you can have a block store where this block store can be non-executable storage. Whatever you keep will not affect the entire storage, and this particular storage have addressing also. So there in the next slide, in the next PPT Dell, when we go with MapReduce, I'll definitely show you what is actually block storage is about.
So
As a
the blocks,
diagrammatical representation.
I guess they can be interconnected, right? Like
Yeah,
you
they
can
are
just
actually interconnected, and they have a reference address to identify what is stored in that, so that it will make indexing and searching easy.
okay. And you use that no coding platform for this one, na? The, modeling that block storage.
Absolutely correct. Yes. Scale to million users. So if you want to scale it up as a part of requirement, you can scale it up. If you want to scale it down, you can scale it down. As a part of service, if the demand is less, you can scale it down, and if the demand is more, you can scale it up. According to the demand, you can reutilize your infrastructure. And if you're scaling it down, you have to pay less. If you're scaling it up, you have to pay more. That is what actually you can do with it. Performance wise, we know that Google is having a very powerful infrastructure for computing things. So you can have good CPU, memory, disk, global network, and transparent maintenance from the Google server. Since Google servers are powerful enough, you can use them the way you want the pay you go like that. Even Google provide good support. So Google is having a good support team, and that will help you to manage your application performance ease. Now, Google Cloud Platform Services, First Insight, you can see there are three different cloud computing platform services: compute, storage, and app. So if we talk about compute, Google is having two crucial product: App Engine and Compute Engine. As a part of storage, we have storage, cloud SQL, cloud data store, uh, percentage disk. Then we have app services, which is BigQuery, then cloud endpoint, then caching, and then queuing. So storage, you can have cloud data store, a good service. A percentage is a good storage component. Whereas in app service, we can go with BigQuery. With BigQuery, billions of search results can be identified. Millions of searches can be done easily. So that is what actually BigQuery is about. And for app deployment and computing, we have App Engine. Now, if you talk about compute, Google Cloud Computing Platform offers both a fully managed platform and a flexible virtual machine, allowing you to choose a system that meets your need. Using App Engine, a platform as a service, when you just want to focus on your code and not worry about patching or maintenance, that can be done. So we have already seen what is Google App Engine and how basically its overview in the case study discussion. Secondly, when we talk about storage, which is again a kind of an important crucial component, Google Cloud Platform provides a range of storage services that allows you to maintain easy and quickly access to your data. With Google, you can go with Cloud SQL and Data Store. You get MySQL or schemeless NoSQL database, while Cloud Storage provides flexible object storage with global edging caching. App services includes use Google APIs and service to quickly enable a wide range of functionality for your application. You don't need to build these from scratch. Just take the advantage of easy integration with cloud platform. So where to go now? Like what you can do, you can just look forward for these three things. You can look forward for a Google App Engine. You can go with Google Cloud Endpoint and Google Cloud APIs. These are some of the important references. You can get these references in the PPT shared, and you can visit them for exploring other crucial important products offered from Google. Now, App Engine, we already had a discussion. What was App Engine? Google App Engine. With App Engine, you can build your web application on the top of the Google. With App Engine, you are provided with dynamic web servers with full support to common web technologies. You can have auto scaling and load balancing feature already integrated with App Engine. You can use MySQL. You can use SQL, NoSQL data store model with App Engine. You can integrate your Google account through APIs also. Google App Engine provides the following services. It is auto scalable. It has good support on content delivery network and static files. So if the user is in a particular location, a duplicate replica can be created to its nearby location using content delivery network for accessing the content in fast. It is having easy logs maintenance. So in
I don't
console
understand. What do you mean by content delivery network?
Content delivery network is a term which is used for storing the replicated data, the block storage nearby to the user's location. So for example, Dell, if you are operating from which city now?
I'm operating Panjim, Goa. Panjim.
Okay. So see, you are now there in Goa, and we have a nearby location in Asia, Singapore. So our data all will be stored in Singapore region there. But someone who is willing to access the data from America, someone who is willing to access the data from Africa, For them, the distance between them to Singapore will be far. So there will be a replicated data that is stored in the nearby region of Africa or the nearby region of America, where these duplicate data they can easily access fast. So that is what content delivery network do.
Okay, understood. Yeah.
Yeah. So easy deployment is there, and free quota is there. Affordable scaling is there. Not much configuration is required as a part of Google App Engine, and it is also having easy security uh, management with its patches for operating systems and server. Now, build, maintain, scale. These are the three things that you have to do. You can use the standard development kit of Google App Engine for offline development of application, and for online application development, there is another provision. But if you want to develop your applications offline, you can directly download the Google App Engine standard development kit and start making your application. Maintenance can be done with the admin console of the Google App Engine. But when you are creating an account on Google App Engine, make sure that it will ask for a credit card detail, and I don't want you to go with any kind of submissions of your credit card or debit card detail to them. So as a trial, we have already seen that I have shared some video tutorial link also with you for better understanding. So make sure don't go with any credit card or debit card detail and don't land yourself in some difficulty. Easy to maintain, like it is having console and site reliability engineer for managing your web application. If you want more number of users to access your application, you can scale it up. If you want to downgrade, you can just scale it down according to your cost and requirement. You can do that. Google App Engine architecture, we already had a discussion on this architecture in the case study discussion. So you know what is stateless, the stateful APIs. This green color block basically represent your app. We have a data store which is there. We have a processor. We have a request and response, memory cache. Everything is there to run your application, which is hosted with Google App Engine and which is now represented in the architecture with a green color. Your application requires whatever standard libraries are stored next to it in the standard library. Now, scalability, as I told Dell in the previous class, that we have the term scalability. Now, scalability can be classified in two different types: vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. So, anybody want to just define what is their understanding on vertical scalability and horizontal scalability? Yes. Anybody want to define?
So,
Yes.
so in vertical scalability, on a single piece of hardware, many VMs many VMs can be hosted. Like so, on a single piece of hardware, if many people will use those VMs, then it will be utilized in a better way. And in horizontal, different hardwares for different machines, and there will be a number of different machines for every user, I guess.
See, in terms of vertical scalability, one machine is made powerful to host various virtual machines. For example, Dell is having a 2 GB RAM laptop. We have installed a 4 GB RAM in his machine, and we made his machine powerful. Again, for more increasing, 4 GB RAM is removed and 8 GB RAM is installed. Again, if more graphic is required, we have installed a graphic card only. So this is how we are increasing the capability of the virtual machine. We are increasing the capability of Dell's machine. But what happened with horizontal scalability? Suppose Dell is having a 2 GB laptop. Rather increasing the capability of Dell's laptop, we will buy a new laptop to Dell with the same configuration or a different configuration also. So now Dell is having two laptops. One is 2 GB and second is 2 GB for handling different requests. Now again, we will buy third laptop for 6 GB and for 2 GB more, so 6 GB. Again, one more laptop. So 4 laptops are there, 2 GB each. So we are not increasing the capability of the laptop, rather we are adding more number of laptops or resources in the system.
So, but then they have to be connected to each other to use all that.
Yeah. They will be connected. Those physical machines will be connected to each other. See, that
But
phase
then the application also has to be optimized for horizontal scalability.
No. Application is stored in the storage block. This is something with respect to computation thing.
Yeah. So where is the storage? The storage is in the first laptop, like the application.
No. Storage. No. Storage is a different component. Dell. That is a different service. This is only we are talking about computation power, 2 GB RAM and graphic and processor. We are talking only about these three components. We are not at all talking about storage. Storage will be connected separately to all the machines, and storage will be connected to the single machine in virtual scalability.
Yeah, no, like what I was asking was like in horizontal scalability, you're going to get like with the example which you gave, like with different laptops. How are you going to connect the storage to all the processes or just one?
Yeah. All the processors. Because these all are individual systems which requires the access to storage. Here in vertical scalability, the system it's one.
Okay.
Okay. Now, how the user request? User look forward for a Google App Engine front end, and Google App Engine front end communicates to the request to the server, and this is how the entire communication passes. So there are multiple users which communicates to App Engine. App Engine communicates to multiple apps on the runtime, and this is how it is done. Now, what are the APIs that comes with App Engine? So some good known examples of the API. First API is memory cache. Memory cache means management with respect to memory cache. Then is data store. Then is URL fetch, mail, XMMP, then task queue, image, then blob store, user services. Now, what are the languages supported by it? So Python, but of course Java, and you might have heard about Golang. Any idea on Golang?
No, sir.
Golang is a very popular programming language. Yes.
What is Golang for?
Golang is a Google programming language, one of the best programming language to develop web-based application. You can visit this URL golang.org. It's one of the best programming language, and in future that will be one of those programming languages that people will use for their developing applications. Now it is not that much
Application
powerful.
means graphical applications also, or only like
Everything
all
you can do
types?
it. All types of things can be done. Do you want any tutorial or any idea on Golang? You want me to share?
Yeah, yeah. That'll be it.
Yes,
See,
sir.
you just visit to the golang.org for more information, and for video tutorial, if I can share, just check if you got a video resource for this.
Yeah, sir, just got it.
So in future, there is a very huge scope for Go language. If you want to definitely go, you can go with Go language. That will be an additional learning for you guys. Now, how is the deployment cycle when it comes to Google App Engine? So the first thing is that you need to write the code. So when you have written the code, what we do is we test the code locally. After testing the code, we push the code to the Google server, and after the code is pushed to the Google server, we have the administrative console or a web console to administrative it. So it is same as we used for IBM Bluemix. You have written the code in IBM Bluemix, then you have tested your code locally, and then you have pushed your code on IBM server, and then you started administrating your app in the IBM Bluemix environment. So it is the same that we did for IBM Bluemix. This is the admin console for Google App Engine. And in the video tutorial with respect to Google App Engine, we have addressed this particular area. We have checked with this area. And you have also gone through on this, like with respect to admin console and everything. Now, what are the common types of GAE apps? Like we have back append, we have cloud persistence, when then we have social media, games, we have consumers for our web application, and you will be happy to know that Google App Engine is one of the popular uh, platform as a service for hosting various web applications. Read-only access to file system, application cannot be created, new thread. These are restrictions, like 60-second deadline per request per response, free up to only 5 GB of storage, serving 5 to like 5 M per view per month. Like there is only 5 million page views per month, so you have the restriction. These are the companies which used Google App Engine for hosting some of the applications that they developed. Are you able to recognize few logos?
Yeah. MTV, Livio, EA, Ubisoft, and Media, stuff like that. Best Buy also.
Yeah, Ubisoft is there. Lots of gaming customers usually look for App Engine for hosting their apps. And this is one of the best thing what they made. You can see Angry Bird designed with the help of HTML5 plus Google App Engine. So
So
we
what are
don't.
those icons at the top? Is it like HTML plus? What is that? Uh, N? What does N stand for?
These are variety of Google products which are responsible for overall designing, which include programming, designing, deployment, hosting tools.
There's G plus also.
Yes,
How is that used in this application?
that is for this
Okay.
branding part.
Okay.
So this is the thing, like so I hope that you would have understood the concepts with respect to the share of Google in terms. Please let me know if you are having any questions, any doubts, any difficulty. We can have a good Q&A session based on your requirement. So in the next class, we will definitely discuss on the Google file system, which is again a kind of a very important component to understand.